What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Before we get started, I just want to say another massive thank you for 8,000 subscribers on the channel. And I just want to say the schedule for videos coming up is now going to be super busy. March, April, May, we've got Premier League, Champions League, Europa League and FA Cup. And then provided that the old coronavirus doesn't, cancel the tournament, for June and July, we have got the Euros on the channel. And then August, the Premier League and Champions League returns for Season 3. So definitely subscribe down below and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of the videos coming up on the channel. I want to give a shout out to Quasim Higginson, who left their comment on the previous video of the Premier League predictions. And weirdly enough, I don't know how they did this, but they somehow took over the comments and their comment was the only one on the video. I saw comments coming when the video was uploaded, but now checking back on it today, this is the only comment there, and it was edited. And he thought I wouldn't see it, but he kept all of his other predictions the same and just edited the Watford-Liverpool game to say Watford would win 3-0. Nice try, buddy. I can see you when you do stuff like that. But if you want to be featured in the next episode of the Premier League predictions, then leave yours down in the comments below for what you think is going to happen in the Week 29 fixtures. And before we get into that, I will need to sadly look back at week 28 and what is definitely the worst week. It was the worst week for me on the Full 90 channel since I started. It was just terrible. Let's have a little look back at the results. Kicking off, Norwich v Leicester. I predicted a 3-1 win to Leicester, and I got the fact that Norwich would score a goal right, which is pretty much all I got right this week, and Norwich won 1-0, so not great there. Brighton Crystal Palace, I predicted a 1-1 draw, and Palace managed to sneak a 1-0 away win, despite Brighton having the bulk of the ball, the bulk of the chances. Brighton just couldn't finish any of them, so Palace just snuck the 3 points there. Bournemouth versus Chelsea, I predicted a 3-1 away win to Chelsea, and it was, of course, a 2-2 draw. Next up, Newcastle versus Burnley, the only result I actually got right for the entire week. I predicted a 1-1 draw between the two teams, and it was a 0-0 draw. West Ham, Southampton, I did at least predict both teams would score in a high-scoring match, but I predicted a 2-2 draw, and West Ham did actually get the 3-1 win, so a great result for them. Watford, Liverpool, I predicted a 2-0 win to Liverpool, and obviously Watford won 3-0. Fantastic performance. Everton, Manchester United, right? I was so close. I predicted a 2-1 win to Everton. I watched the game, and I thought at the end it was going to happen, and then the goal got disallowed. Whatever you think about the goal, when you look back at the replay, Sigurdsson had way too much time. He had enough time to get up and get out of the way. So whether you think it's a goal or not, he probably could have moved out the way and made Everton win 2-1, but it was 1-1 nonetheless. And then Tottenham v Wolves, I predicted a 1-1 draw between the two teams, and it was a 3-2 away win to Wolves, which is a fantastic result and could really shape things for the top 4, top 5 going towards the end of the season. Obviously, Aston Villa, Sheffield United was the postponed fixture. I predicted 2-1 Sheffield United, don't know the result of that. And Man City, Arsenal, postponed fixture. I predicted 3-2 to Manchester City. They do play very soon. But anyway, kicking it off for week 29, hopefully we'll have a better week this week. It can't really get much worse. We are having Liverpool hosting Bournemouth at Anfield. And the last, I think, either 5 or 6 meetings between the two teams have seen an aggregate score of 17-0 to Liverpool. A bunch of 3-0s, a couple of 4-0s, absolute destruction. I think it was the last 5 fixtures, 2 4-0s and 3 3-0s. I'm actually going to go for Bournemouth to score in this one because Liverpool, psychologically, they're in that little dip. They lost to Atletico Madrid, they lost to Watford, they beat West Ham 3-2, but that was pretty lucky in the end, that they made a tough go of it. And of course, they lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup 5th round, which I also predicted, which I was pretty happy about. But I'm going to go for a 4-1 win to Liverpool. Just because Bournemouth will score doesn't mean that they're going to get anything from this game. I think Liverpool are going to return with a vengeance, having not scored in 3 of their last 4 fixtures. They're going to come back with a bang, and Bournemouth, unfortunately, are going to suffer the blows of that. The next game, Arsenal up against West Ham. Arsenal, convincing enough, victory in the FA Cup over Portsmouth. West Ham, very good result against Southampton. I think at West Ham's ground, the London Stadium, maybe this would be a little bit different. A cheeky little 1-1. 2-2, 2-1 win to West Ham, just because Arsenal's away form really isn't that good. But at the Emirates, Arsenal are very tough to conquer. They're looking very good going forward, whether that's their main lineup of Aubameyang, Lacazette starting to find a bit of form again. Bukayo Saka, absolute flames right now. Nicolas Pepe's looking good. Whether it's those guys or the likes of Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, they both played very, very well. Played their part in the FA Cup. Ceballos is looking good. Arsenal's backline is looking all right. Mustafi's actually looking like a decent defender recently. Maybe it's the haircut. I don't know. But I'm going to go for an Arsenal win in this fixture. I'm going to go for a high-scoring 3-1 win to the Gunners. The next fixture is Crystal Palace up against Watford. Palace will be lifted by their result against Brighton. Perhaps you could say it was slightly undeserved. Maybe a draw would have been a fairer result. And Watford, I mean, flying high, using a 3-0 win against the, up until that point, invincible Liverpool season to lift themselves out of the relegation zone with not just a scrappy 1-0 or something like that. A convincing 3-0 win is absolutely phenomenal. And I think Watford on their day, they can beat anyone. I mean, it just shows. I've been saying all season that I don't think Watford are going to get relegated, even when they were like 9 points behind everyone else. I said they're not going to get relegated. I still think they're going to survive. This fixture, however, I think the honeymoon phase of beating Liverpool will be over, and I think it'll be back to reality of struggling against teams in and around them. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw between the two teams here, but if I had to pick a winner, maybe I'd go for a cheeky little 2-1 away win to Watford. You never know. Next up, we have Sheffield United versus Norwich. Now, frequently, these two teams, when they play, whether it's been in the Premier League or even in the Championship last year, they both score. It's usually a close game, and I found out all of this information after I originally predicted my prediction, and my prediction was backed up by recent historical results. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win to Sheffield United. Sheffield United also just scraping through the FA Cup against Reading, winning 2-1 in extra time. Norwich still yet to play Tottenham in the FA Cup at the time of recording. The next fixture is Southampton up against Newcastle. Newcastle in the FA Cup, 3-0 lead against West Brom, and then 2 late goals make it go to 3-2. Very, very close there. Southampton, they'll be disappointed that they didn't get anything against West Ham. I did predict that they might, get a draw, but they had a really good run of form, and now their form isn't looking too good. I'm going to back them to get back to winning ways finally. They really, really need a win, and Newcastle, they aren't as great away from home, and, conceding 2 late goals to West Brom, not the best look for a Premier League side, although West Brom will probably be joining us in the Premier League next season. So I'm going to go for a Southampton home win. Once again, another 2-1 win to the Saints. The next fixture is Wolves up against Brighton. Now, Wolves are looking absolutely electric. They look great in the Europa League, very dominant. They looked, really, really good in their previous Premier League fixture up against, who was it? Yeah, Tottenham. Yeah, they looked insane. I mean, Tottenham, they had their chances, but the way Adama Traore set up that goal where I think it was Tanganga, is that his name? I think that's his name, the newer defender in Tottenham, the young lad. He sort of knocked Traore off the ball, and he pretty much fell over and almost clawed his way back up and kept the move going and created a goal. It was phenomenal. Wolves are looking great. I'm going to go for a simple enough win here. Brighton away from home, not as good as they are at home, and obviously failing to get anything up against Crystal Palace in the previous week may affect them a little bit. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Wolverhampton Wanderers in this fixture. The next one is Burnley up against Tottenham. I was very, very strongly debating a draw in this one. Burnley obviously coming up against a draw against Newcastle, and Tottenham losing last time out to Wolves. I think Tottenham will want to bounce back, and I can see them just nicking a late winner. Perhaps Burnley go ahead 1-0 and Tottenham get 2 second-half goals. Tottenham have been pretty good at scoring lately when they win. Like, it's usually later on in the game that they get the game tied up. So I'm going to go for another 2-1 win, this time to the away side, to Tottenham, thinking that they'll probably bag a cheeky one at the end. The next fixture is going to be a very, very tough one to call. It is Chelsea up against Everton. Now, Chelsea, they're looking pretty solid. They've had some players returning from injury, rotating their squad obviously for the FA Cup. And Everton, I do think they look quite good. I think in the end, the Everton-Man United game, a draw was the fair result. Both keepers made an error to concede their goal. Pickford made a really good save at the end to sort of redeem himself. David De Gea made a couple of really good saves as well to redeem himself. So although Everton technically kind of scored, I think a draw was a fair result there. I think this is going to be a very, very close game. If I had to pick a winner, I would pick the home side in Chelsea, but I'm going to go for a high-scoring draw, just like when Chelsea drew 2-2 to Bournemouth. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw between Chelsea and Everton. Now, the next game of the week, Manchester derby. Manchester United, they have been, to be fair, looking all right lately. Not as good against Everton as they have in previous fixtures. They're still yet to play Derby in the FA Cup at the time of recording. Manchester City, they're starting to look pretty good. Obviously, they beat Aston Villa. It wasn't convincing, but they beat Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup final 2-1. They beat Real Madrid in the Champions League first leg 2-1. So I'm predicting them to do the same thing for the third time in a row against Manchester United. 2-1 to Manchester City. I think it's going to be very, very close. Games, the Manchester derbies usually are typically quite close. Just something in the air when that fixture happens. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Manchester City. The next game is Leicester up against Aston Villa. And I think Leicester are going to want to get back to winning ways. Obviously, they're going to want to do that. I think they're going to get a convincing win. However, if this was at Villa Park, I could see it being a draw because Aston Villa, they're looking all right. On their day, they look decent. But I think Leicester at the King Power Stadium are going to be too strong for Aston Villa. So I'm going to go for a high-scoring 3-1 win to Leicester. This is assuming that Jamie Vardy's in the lineup. I know he hasn't played a game or two lately. I'm not sure about that, whether he's injured or not. But I think Leicester at the King Power Stadium, they haven't been in the best form of late, but they are third in the Premier League for a reason, and Aston Villa are struggling down at the bottom in the Premier League for a reason. So I'm going to go for Leicester to win this one convincingly, 3-1. So that is going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like on it, subscribe and turn on the bell, as I said, so you don't miss a future video, because there's a lot coming up on the channel. Europa League, Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Euros in the summer, all of that good stuff, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Leave your comments with your prediction down in the comments below for a chance to be featured in the next episode of the Premier League Predictions, and I will see you in the next video very soon.